Lads, we're back. Hello.
That was so energetic.
I know. It's completely different to how I was about 20 seconds ago on this call.
We back.
We back. Agree. We are back. I'm excited, guys. Training camps are opening for the other NHL teams today, not the Sucky Seven, as we had christened them.
Mm-hmm.
California and the rest.
Yeah, California and Associates. But the season is coming, guys. We're not that far. I believe we're 9 days away. No, sorry, we are.
10.
It's January 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm excited, guys. How are you feeling today?
I'm excited. Obviously we got a little bit of, I guess, pre-NHL hockey in the World Juniors. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's still going on, but you guess back into hockey again. It's kind of been a while. I think 3 or 4 months, but it's felt like 2 or 3 years.
It has. Yeah. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yes.
Happy New Year, guys.
Yes.
Yeah,
We've said it several times, but never on the pod.
No,
or did we say it on Twitch?
No.
Or was it not? No, it was not New
Year.
Year.
It was the 30th.
No. Wow, it felt like a year ago.
I see what you did there.
Okay, that's the end of the episode. Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for having me.
I didn't get it. Maybe it's because no one's going outside nowadays for obvious reasons, but you never have those people that are like, see you next year.
Remember the before time when we could go outside?
No.
The land before time.
No.
Like when we can go do things? No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Remember when we used to record this in like a room together?
Well, you were
in
never
my
really
basement.
There.
In your basement a few times. I remember at the Ryerson.
Oh yeah,
at the editing suite at the Ryerson at the RCC. Yes.
Mm-hmm. God, I remember the RCC.
Mm-hmm. I miss
back
the
in
RCC.
the day.
When I had to leave my coffee outside.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, lads, we'll get into the hockey here. As you mentioned there, both of you really, the World Juniors are still going on. We had the quarters yesterday. The semis are tomorrow. We've got the Americans going on against the Finns. We've got the Canadiens and the Russians, a rematch from the gold medal game last year. We'll get into the World Juniors probably a little later in the show. There's going to be a good bit of focus on that. But, we have I'm really now looking at the doc and realizing, oh, God, we've had a sort of second signing season here now.
The second signing of the signs.
A second wave of another kind.
Yes. A more positive second wave.
Yeah, I mean, we love NHL news. I was looking back on my Twitter. I like cleaning it up every once in a while. And I remember seeing the Duclair signing, and I just said, oh, look at this, real NHL news, real NHL news. It was really cool to see.
Was it from your favorite account?
It was not from that weird, NHL breaking Twitter. No, it was not. I unfollowed that guy a long time ago. Sourcing is important, people. I think we should start with probably the most shocking sign.
You can't just put according to sources. You have to say the source.
Unless it's about Mike, then you can just do whatever you want.
According to various sources that I've spoken to.
Some people even say that, those random Twitter accounts that just sort of regurgitate what they read on The Athletic and say it's true, when it's really just speculative stuff. But, we'll get into some actual signings here. And the biggest shock, really, in a long time, on Zdeno Chara and the Boston Bruins have parted ways, guys. He'll be going to Washington, which is a good signing for them. I think I don't think what really matters here is what Chara brings to Washington. What matters is the Bruins just sort of, I don't want to say that there's a very big lack of respect here, but it seems like both in the ways that they handled the Torrey Krug situation, as well as now with Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
The Bruins maybe could have handled this a little better, don't you think, Daniel?
I think I remember, I can't remember. I remember it was TSN, but I do not remember who tweeted it out. But I think they said that the expectation was at Chara at this point of his career, they expected him to retire and take up a job in management, but he still wanted to play. So, of course, there was that disconnect that happened. And then you mentioned Torrey Krug, and it's another blow to their defense where we're looking at a Bruins team that, they went from making it to the finals to kind of navigating what comes next, especially as Bergeron and Krejci and Marchand, they get well into their 30s. Well, Marchand like on the lower end of it.
Alex.
Yeah, I feel like the way they handled this one seemed to be a little bit different than the Torrey Krug one, because I think the Torrey Krug one was so out of left field for so many people. Like, we all expected Torrey Krug to resign. There was going to be no issues, but it seemed like, well, the guy didn't really get an offer for like a full year. Like, the last offer, it seemed like the last reasonable offer he got seemed to be back a year before free agency. Whereas this one, I think, was a little bit different because the expectations of Chara were top 4 minutes, where the Bruins were looking at saying, hey, well, we have these young guys that we do want to test out. We'd rather you be, as they put it, I think, part-time. But it's going to be a big blow to the locker room. Like, Chara's in his 40s. I mean, he's not bad by any means. That's not what I'm trying to say, but he's not at the level he was. I don't think the impact he makes on the ice is nearly as big the impact he makes in the locker room.
We've mentioned that before. Remember, I think with Joe Pavelski leaving San Jose and what he kind of left there. And I guess like what I'm just thinking with you guys is that the kind of same vacuum that's left there, but the fact that you have a Patrice Bergeron there to kind of, presumably take the captaincy.
You guys know I'm a massive Bergeron fan.
Yeah.
And I do there's a part of me that hopes he gets the C. I really do. I'm not concerned about the Bruins room per se, because it's always been very strong.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. I am, however, just worried about them, period, though, with Chara leaving, because, again, he wasn't the Norris Trophy winner that he was. Like, this is not Zdeno Chara 2011 leading them to a Stanley Cup. Though, these young defensemen, I'm looking at their core, and I'm like, all right, who? McAvoy can't really stay healthy. Is Carlo and Grzelcyk and is John Moore really going to be the backbone? I mean, I just don't, and I know I'm looking at their young guys, and I'm like, all right, is Zaboro really the guy? And whatever you say about Chara is what's unique of 43-year-old Zdeno Chara as a sixth defenseman compared to, I don't know, I'll just say, name me a sixth defenseman.
On the Bruins, like Kevin Miller.
A difference between him and Kevin Miller is Zdeno Chara has experience. He will know his limits. And the point was made, again, I like you, Dan, it was someone in TSN. I think it may have been Dutchy, saying that, like, the guy's wingspan, because he's a giant. I mean, that is a useful player.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, well, I think they'll be fine leadership-wise, of course, but I still think there's going to be a vacuum there. It will be a concern.
Oh, for sure. They're taking an odd approach. In my opinion, they're taking such an odd approach because, let's be realistic, Bergeron, Krejci, we can even include Marchand, are on the back ends of their career. Bergeron and Krejci especially. Like, how many more years can Patrice Bergeron really, like, he hasn't really declined that much. But think about the injuries he's gone through over the multiple cup runs, the multiple heavy playoff runs that the Bruins have gone through. How many more times can Patrice Bergeron do that? So their original core is standing on their last legs, and now is the time you want to try out the young guys. Like, I understand it's important, but that's not the approach necessarily I would take.
Is another thing, by the way, how are they replacing Torrey Krug's offensive ability, by the way? I'm still not seeing how you're going to do that.
They must have a lot of trust in Charlie McAvoy.
I'm actually still stumped, to be honest, with the approach that the Bruins have had this offseason, to be honest, because I look at the draft pool, I look at who they've taken in these rounds the last few years, and there's just no one like who speaks to me that will replace that many minutes. I know that maybe you're going to rely on the guys that have already made it, where they've gotten really lucky. Like I look back on 2015, and the fact that they got lucky with Charlie McAvoy and Brandon Carlo, like well, McAvoy in 16, Carlo in the second round in 2015, after they really, other than Jake DeBrusk, really botched their first round.
Yeah.
There's just really no one else I could kind of see. Like Alex have actually really corrected me on this, where I have a hard time saying his name, but Uro Vikanainen.
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
as good of a guess.
He's a guy where, he kind of stands out to me in a way that maybe he makes the jump, but he reminds me again of another Jakub Zaboro. Well, you take a guy where maybe he was, defensively sound in his junior system, but he's someone that's just really struggling to make that transition. And I don't know what the ceiling is for that potential or what they see he's going to become, because it's been 6 years now since Zaboro's been drafted.
Yeah. By the way, another comparison to San Jose here. When are they going to fall off? We always ask about the core players in San Jose. The same with the Bruins. If you incorporate, if you got to put together his playoff games, Bergeron's already played over 1,200 NHL games in any combination.
Yeah.
35, playing the best hockey of his career offensively, at least. And
Right.
A Selke. They got to rename the trophy eventually. Preach Bergeron award, but
And he's playing on the best line in hockey, like arguably, I think most people would agree, the best line in hockey. Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak.
Yeah. And is probably the reason that Pasternak is able to get that much more offense going in Marchand. Because
Right. Just to answer your question, how are they going to replace Torrey Krug's offense? There's no perfect solution except Torrey Krug, but there's still one guy who is unsigned who stands out to me, and that's Sammy Vatanen.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the Bruins, I believe are they over the cap? No, they're not. They have 2.9 million in cap space. Unless they're hell-bent on using their young guys, I'd go out and get Sammy Vatanen. Now, I understand he's right-handed, but he can play on the left, and your left needs work. Like, that's... As a Leafs fan, watching them have the right side of absolutely nothing for the last decade, that's where teams are going to expose you. You can be all great on the right side, but you're going to get exposed on the left. On the left.
As long as you just have some quality guys, like Tampa, they're known for their left side, right?
Right.
But they at least got competent, known plugs. No offense to some of those guys, but
Yeah.
sorry, Jan Ruta, but you know
Carter
what?
Verhaeghe.
Yeah, Carter. Stop it. But Goshen, like they're guys.
Right.
And a lot of the guys it seems like the Bruins are banking on are right now. It's an unknown. And hey,
Right.
listen, I'm not going to complain about the Bruins taking a step back. No way, shape, or form am I going to do that.
No.
And hey, Vatanen at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he signed a PTO because that's happening all over the league.
I mean, he's been there a while on the open market. That I at this point I think he takes like an Eric Halla comparable.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about these guys sort of right now. Mike Hoffman, the Hasselhoffman, sort of shocked everyone with not going with the Blues. That had been talked about on Insider Trading a ton. But he signed a PTO, which everyone was like, "Wait, what's going on here? Is he going to make the team?" Of course he is. He's Hoffman. Now, right after this had come out, Elliot Friedman put out a little note. I love when he does those little Twitter notes of, "Hey guys, this is what's going on." Little nuggets. I love them so much. Talking about how once the season sort of gets going and the Blues can put a guy like Tarasenko on LTIR, there is a handshake agreement with the Blues and Hoffman that he will then sign there.
Now, is Tarasenko out the entire season? Is that the verdict?
That's the expectation, yeah.
because it's the same surgery, right? On the same shoulder. It just didn't. 5 months is the
Okay.
first thing I'm seeing here.
So probably about the entire season. Plus they put Alex Steen on LTIR as well. That's 5.75 million.
Exactly. Yeah.
I really think like the good thing about this deal is that they lose Tarasenko they're going to lose Tarasenko for their regular season, but they add Mike Hoffman for the regular season. Plus, if they make the playoffs, which they probably will, but then you get to add Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yeah, he'll be
Yeah.
your deadline ad.
Right.
You love
Which
to
makes
see
your
it.
team that much better.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh did that. I remember they were over the cap. They made the hosted deal, and then
Yeah.
Malkin comes back in the playoffs.
Even Chicago, I think they brought
Yeah.
in Brian Bickle and I don't remember who they brought in two guys. The other guy is not coming to me, but I remember specifically, I think it was Patrick Kane was on LTIR, came back right at the beginning of the playoffs. They added Brian Bickle and someone else.
Emo Timonen?
I think so.
Yeah, they got him at the deadline, and then they were technically over the cap, but then like Patrick Kane was out, and then they worked around that.
Yeah, then the playoff cap hits, like, whatever. There were two, we can just sort of touch on this. I'll ask each of you to just a word on any of this. First, Alex, Vince Dunn has finally been signed. Your thoughts? It's 1 year. It is another one of those short, just sort of listen cap situations kind of in the doghouse right now. Come on down, Vince.
Yeah, you have
Come
to
here.
you have to wonder if there's again some type of agreement similar to Kevin LeBlanc last year, who took the 1 year, pretty much his qualifying offer. Obviously, it didn't really work out the best for him because flat cap, poor season, etc. But there's a couple big names like Jaden Schwartz is gonna be a UFA. The big one though is Tyler Bozak, $5 million. Probably not going to make that next time around. And then Alex Steen obviously comes off the book. So he's probably going to get somewhat paid next year. I'm a little worried considering how their top four is already built in Falk, Krug, Parayko, and Scandella. I think Vince Dunn obviously goes above Scandella, but when Scandella is making 3.275, it's obviously a worry.
By the way, that contract is 1.875.
Yeah.
Daniel, other piece of news. Apparently Tarasenko wasn't happy about it. But Ryan O'Reilly has been named the new captain of the St. Louis Blues.
I think it's well earned. It's kind of like a what we've always said on our Twitch, the reclamation in a way. Not that he was a bad player, but how things went for him in Buffalo after he left. What is the stability of the Colorado Avalanche? And they were saying that, the Tim Hortons jokes were there. He's not a leader. He's not a guy that, it's going to help Jack Eichel get to the next level. And then suddenly he's a captain of another stable franchise, of a winning franchise, of a team that, we expect is going to be a contender for a while. So, I'm happy for it. I think that he has become those guys that not so much on the personal side. Well, I'm not saying like I know him or anything, but more on like what the media has kind of like shown him to be. That I think one big storyline they had early in his career was, when he's out of the Duchesne, the Paul Stastny, quote unquote, shadow in Colorado, like what can he do on his own? I remember when he signed an offer as a restricted free agent with Calgary, wanting to be a number one center there. That didn't work. And then he got traded to Buffalo, and then they expected him to kind of be one of those guys that he could finally break out, and then it didn't happen. And then he goes to St. Louis. So, good on him.
Yeah, gets dealt, wins a Selke, wins the Conn Smythe of a Stanley Cup winning team. What a turnaround there. And we saw it this morning. Congratulations to not Marco Scandella. Whoops. Jared Spurgeon, the new captain of the Minnesota Wild. I guess Suter didn't want it. I really hope there wasn't just a hey, whatever. But hey, poor Suter. I mean, Minnesota, congratulations. Just thought I'd quickly throw that in there.
Yeah, nice story before we go forward with Jared Spurgeon that he was drafted by the Islanders and was never given a contract.
Really?
Yeah, and then Minnesota just like, all right, we'll grab him because he was like a 6th round pick.
The Islanders, man, they're always fun to look back on, aren't they?
We
It's
love
like-
Jared Spurgeon. We just don't love his contract.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
The cap hit's not bad. It's just
The
the
length.
term is
Mhm.
a mistake. A mistake. Another sort of bridge, another key centerman of Columbus signing a little bridge deal here. Pierre-Luc Dubois.
This is a mess.
There's a few different things we can talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois. Contract worth is $10 million, $5 million cap hit on both years. Now, this is a really fun few hours for Montreal Canadiens fans, I'll tell you that. So, Pierre Lebrun, who is very trusted. Who doesn't love Pierre? Great guy. Fantastic guy.
We're a fan of Pierre's on this show.
Yeah, we love Pierre's.
Yeah.
But he had a sort of tweet that suggested, he didn't flat out say that Pierre-Luc Dubois had asked for a trade, but maybe he was looking or had asked for a change of scenery. And that cued everyone to say, French centerman, Quebec, come on down. As I say that you can't see this, but over my island is a Montreal Canadiens blanket. And oh boy, were there trade proposals coming out. Now, a few hours after that tweet, oh my God, what do you know? Speaking of Quebec, same thing that kind of happened with Brendan Gallagher's contract. Dubois had signed. And I'm going to remember all the Habs fans that I saw trade Cole Caulfield and Jesperi Kotkaniemi over those few hours.
Oh no.
But I would trade KK for Pierre-Luc Dubois. I would do it. I would do
So
it.
would
I
I.
would 100%. Not Suzuki.
No.
I don't want to trade Jesperi, but for Dubois. Thoughts on the deal, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not it's not a horrible deal. I think he'll still be a RFA obviously at the end of it. I think he'll probably have arbitration rights at that point. But this is just it's a very messy situation because it still seems even after he signed that deal that there's still rumors going around that he'd rather have a change of scenery. And you have to think it's either going to go one of two, like it could be the Patrick Laine scenario where it's like, okay, well, we know he wants a change of scenery. It's going to happen or something's going to change. Mm-hmm. Because if you looked at, like, if you felt the vibe after they beat the Leafs and there was the whole John Tortorella when he on the bench was yelling at Pierre-Luc Dubois, literally after that, he probably had the best games of his like career because like just the way he was playing, it was it felt like a different Dubois, and it felt like the vibe there was, okay, you know, this is our guy long term. There was no rumors of him wanting a change of scenery up until now. Now, like I think we've had this discussion on the podcast before. This could just be, you know, it goes up, up, up. Like the stress level goes up, up, and up. Just like with Marner, we found out he rejected the 8x11, and then everyone went mad, and then he signed like a week later. Mm-hmm. Now these rumors can completely die off, and I hope they do, because if they lose Dubois, what's
it's better
there?
for that market if they keep him. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There's two things I kind of see with this. Well, one's a funny joke I saw, I think, on Twitter with Jarkko Kekalainen, where it's like, I want Pierre-Luc Dubois demands a change of scenery, and he's like, all right, do you want to play with Alex Texier or do you want to play Gustav Nyquist? Which one do you want? Because that's really like Columbus could offer him.
Right.
But for me, what I know this was a bit further down his career because he was an RFA at the time, but it just seems like a comparable to me. And it was where the New Jersey Devils were in 2012. And I'm looking at Zach Parise, where he was a guy that initially there were like some rumblings. He kind of wanted a change of scenery. And what New Jersey did was, all right, we'll give you, you know, a 1 year prove me kind of thing. And then we'll hopefully swing for the fences for a big deal later on. And then that same year, they also gave him the captaincy. They said, you're our guy. And moving forward, we're going to keep building around you. And then when, you know, those two RFA deals expire, he decides to go to Minnesota for that gigantic deal. And I'm not saying that might happen with Pierre-Luc Dubois, but it's that comparable I see where, they look at that 1-4, they look at that guy that could say that, we've gone through a lot of things already when it came to losing other guys who didn't want to stay in this market. And, we want to invest in you, but at the same time, we're not, on the equal playing field in terms of negotiations or what the plan is moving forward, because I hope Dubois sees a future in Columbus. I think it's going to be good for hockey, but I don't I could see where he's coming from now, where maybe he wants to explore kind of things, because Columbus, I think, has guys coming up, but they just don't have the high end guys coming up to help him. And it's just how I saw the Devils as well in 2012.
Columbus, a star player.
Columbus has been through such a weird offseason to me, because they trade Marcus Nudivara, they trade Ryan Murray, and it's not like they've really got many assets for it. I think both of them were fourth round picks or something around that, but and the expectation there was, okay, you know what, they're clearing up cap space to sign Pierre-Luc Dubois long term, and
Yes.
now that doesn't happen. So that, I mean, they're really, so their defense is Jones, Werenski, Savard, Gavrikov, Dean Kukin, Scott Harrington, and Gabriel Carlson. I mean, this is a team, like, I know last year they were injury ridden and still made the playoffs. I really do think with Korpisalo and Elvis Merzlikins, if they can do what they did last year, plus Jones and Werenski, with the way they play offense that fits, that they have that defense and goaltending duo, they could really, really make the playoffs. But now what?
Listen, they need offensive weapons. It feels like Columbus's entire history, they've always needed more. We've seen what Torella can do with a bare bones roster. That's what he's doing right now.
Right.
But when they needed offense from their forwards, if it's not been Cam Atkinson, who think made a great point about the people saying he's only been good with Panarin. I love that he was like, idiots, no, look at my hockey DB. I love Atkinson, by the way. It's been him and Dubois on the forwards, obviously. So if they lose him, and I mean, listen, I love Max Domi, but we don't know what exactly Domi is yet, because he's had two sort of real seasons where his knee's been out there and they've been up and down. So it's important. What's really funny is you mentioned not having the sort of high-end prospects there, Daniel. And man, Dubois needs a winger. And I'm like, isn't this just the opposite of Rick Nash and how he needed a centerman forever and they never got him one?
It was just ironic to me because I just watched the Steve Dangle video about the Rick Nash trade tree.
Oh yeah.
About like the years that Rick Nash like put up 30, 40 goals, and like the next comparable was like 19 goals after him on that team.
Hey, listen, just get Patrick Laine. It's been rumored forever. Just go get Patrick Laine and give up whatever you got to try and make him to bring him in and make Pierre happy. Laine has a great year with him. He plays with the first line center, which is pretty wicked. And boom.
Hey, I would have argued if they didn't trade Nudivara and Murray, maybe especially now, maybe there's a deal to be made. But we've had this discussion, I think, multiple times. What are you really, like, your cupboards are pretty not full. Like, what are you giving up? We know they want a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
You're not giving up Jones or Werenski. That would be not a good move. And then you got David Savard, and it's like, okay, David Savard plus, and what? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I agree. It'd be a great move for Columbus.
Mm-hmm. Another signing. I gotta, man, there's not a team that I love more watching than the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's just, no, this is a good move. This is a good move. They signed John Marino. Alex, I'm going to go to you because of anyone on the show, I think you're his biggest fan. 6-year contract worth $26.4 million. The AAV on that deal is for 0.4. It's one of the few good defensemen that Pittsburgh have.
Yeah, like I think he used that to his advantage because like it's a good deal. I don't know if he'd get 4.4 on many other teams. It's Chris Letang, Brian Dumlin, Pedersen, and John Marino. That's their defense.
That's not a bad top four.
Okay, and then their bottom pairing
And
is
there it is.
Mike Matheson, Cody Ceci, Yuso Ricola, or Chad Ruedel.
Ruedel, I think.
Ruedel.
All right.
There it is. The contract, though.
The contract, I don't mind like 4.4 for 6 years. I think it will end a year after it'll end 2 years after Marcus Pedersen, and it'll end 1 year after Mike Matheson, which I don't know if it says much about the Marino contract or says how bad the Mike Matheson contract really is.
That's fair.
But
Daniel,
I do enjoy the deal.
Oh, sorry.
No, I
Okay,
do
sorry,
like the
all right.
deal.
Probably, Daniel, a comparison to the Rasmus Anderson contract, just under. Rasmussen got 6 years, 4.5 per, or 4.555 per, but a fair comparable for Marino. In this cap economy, really good for the guy to get a deal like that.
Yes. We did not say this ever in the offseason, but pat on the back, Jim Rutherford. Yeah. I think it's a great deal. He is someone that we've talked about before, for the last year that, the Penguins, what does their prospect pool look like outside of Samuel Poulin? Especially if they traded like Kalen Addison, traded away that first round pick.
So they eventually trade Poulin too, because they will.
Yeah, probably. And to get someone like John Marino, where it's ironic that Edmonton traded him when they really needed a defenseman like him because he didn't want to sign there. And what he's really developed in Pittsburgh has been great for them because, we've looked at that core, excellent core. We never count out Crosby, but they are getting older. And to get someone that could kind of fill in along with Marcus Pedersen is excellent for their defense, especially when, Justin Schultz is gone. Jack Johnson's gone. Not saying that these guys were, the most effective all the time, but, they were minute munchers.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Jack Johnson for some reason.
Yeah, he played a lot.
I'll never understand.
In their series versus Montreal in the play-in round, I sure did notice Jack Johnson a lot. Normally ended up in Montreal scoring. Love to see it. Our last sort of signing here, and of course we're going to save the best for last. A move that was not a real surprise to me. I want to get your guys' take on this. The Montreal Canadiens have signed Corey Perry to a 1-year deal. Guys making it's $750K. Okay,
I've always been a Habs fan, coming for this deal. It's excellent signing, adds the grit, and he's closer to home of London, Ontario.
Yeah, grew up a Habs fan actually. Fun fact. But go ahead then, Daniel. I want your full.
He didn't grow up a Ducks fan?
No, he didn't.
Did he actually grow up? I have a question.
I didn't know that.
I'll let Daniel go first because I have a question.
All right. Yeah, I think it's excellent signing. I'm happy he found another team. To be honest, I was kind of scared there that he was going to just stay on the market for a while. Mm-hmm. But again, Montreal keeps adding to that depth that, another guy you could probably add into the taxi squad. He might not play every day, but when he does come in, he adds that grit. And you never really know, like in crunch time, what he could give. Like in Dallas, what we saw him do in the finals, he is a guy that, he's not going to give you the 40 goals anymore, but he's someone that could surprise you. That when we saw Dallas's offense somehow translate back to the 2003 draft of Joe Pavelski and Corey Perry, it's just another option you could add there that he will provide you with, effective play in limited minutes.
Mm-hmm. Alex.
Yeah, no. So I know he's actually a Canadiens fan because I was reading something about it after you'd sent it to me. But there's this thing in soccer where when the guy joins the team, he goes, "Man, it was my dream to play for this club," and they usually say it everywhere they go. and I just have a feeling, and I know when you can't find it officially, I have a feeling some of these guys are lying.
It sounds like
in
a
hockey.
generic. It sounds like a generic EA Games
Yeah.
add-in.
So someone actually, no, I had the same feeling. So somebody actually found one of his old, it's like a junior's like profile thing on him.
Yeah.
And back then he said he was a Habs fan.
Oh yeah, I have it here. It's on the
So
Ducks page.
But does he have a picture of him with a Montreal Canadiens blanket sleeping in his
He
bed?
remembers the 1993 Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, with his like Star Wars toy like on the side. I don't know.
Yeah. But he has an X-wing instead
before
of
it
a
was
Y-wing.
before it was made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the signing. Zero risk. Only had 5 goals in the playoffs, which actually matched his season total by like 20 less games. And I didn't realize this till after I had made my video. Go check that out, by the way. They were like all game winners.
Yeah.
The guy is the perfect sort of playoff performer in a way. Again, he's not going to be the sort of Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, 25 points each in that playoff run. But he is the famous saying that Bergevin has of there are guys who get you to the playoffs and guys who get you through the playoffs. Somebody left a comment on my video I thought was really, really good. Thomas Tatar is a guy who helps you get to the playoffs. He doesn't help you get through. Has had his best seasons in Montreal, but when they got to the playoffs and returned to play, he disappeared. He was not noticeable. So they need more guys like that. And again, Perry and his media availability did make it sound like he was playing every night. And, you know, he doesn't have that expectation. So having a guy like him as a sort of, like, it's so weird to think that if this signing had happened last year or the year before, Corey Perry's probably in the top 9 guaranteed.
Yeah.
And now he may not have a roster spot. And it's another sort of, it's a testament to where Montreal's depth has come to all of a sudden. I really, really like it. It's going to be, and like his style of play, people are going to fall in love with him so quickly. It's like, I don't like playing against, I don't like my team playing against Corey Perry. No one does.
No one does.
So, I'm all of a sudden the biggest Corey Perry fan in the world. And there was a Canadiens fan, I saw a tweet saying, it's time to delete a decade worth of Corey Perry hate tweets.
Right. Right. It's like Joel Ward. You know, he wasn't necessarily going to bring you to the playoffs, but when he got to the playoffs, it was a different Joel Ward. And I think the stats would show, I think even just the point totals would show that.
I'm just happy he has a team, to be honest, because like the way things was kind of, you know, transpired in Anaheim towards the end, that they realized he wasn't a top guy anymore. And the fact that effectiveness is still there, that he's grown into the role he needs to play now in his career, not Corey Perry. Well, I mean, he's still Corey Perry, but I mean, not, you know, top line guy that, you know, he's a shoe in every Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. He's not nowadays. He's just a nice, simple depth bastard to play against.
You think he's going to affect Josh Anderson pretty well? Because they play, I mean, Josh Anderson doesn't have the, you know, the scoring that Perry had in his prime, but it's like they play a similar style.
I mean, Anderson can skate. So, I mean, it's going to be fun seeing, can you just imagine that you've dealt with the Deneau line. Here's the one with Josh Anderson in it. Now it's Yola Armia. Now it's Corey Perry. You get through them in the back end, there's Shea Weber or Ben Sherratt. There's Joel Edmondson. Maybe Romanov can, some of the hits he was laying out in practice, it seems to be he's very much he breaks up plays and he hits. Like there's a physical sort of eye-catching game. Like they're not going to be fun to play. I'm excited. I'm really excited. By the way, this is from Jeff Svoboda. Jarmo Kekalainen describes negotiations with Pierre-Luc Dubois as really smooth. Says the team had deals of 2, 3, and 8 years on the table.
Wow.
There we go.
Just thought that was really funny to mention. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe those were just the rumors at the time, similar with what happens with a lot of other RFAs.
Yeah. Apparently, it's funny he says smooth because people have talked about that. Apparently, I think Friedman has mentioned this a few times on 31 Thoughts, the podcast, that negotiating with Jarmo Kekalainen is very much a grind. It's just not fun. So, I mean, I'll still hold hope that him and Aho are going to come to Montreal in the same year, and it's going to be a super team, and it's going to be great. Absolutely fantastic.
I do have some breaking news because I do not think this is in the document.
Big
But
news.
I believe Mike also texted it in the chat. But this is from Arthur Staple, The Athletic, New York
Great.
Islanders. The New York Islanders camp has begun with off-ice testing today, and Matthew Barzal is officially a holdout. Barry Trotz confirmed Barzal is not in camp yet, though he has been on Long Island. You have to make sure you're adaptable, Trotz says. We're going to worry about who we can put on the ice.
Oh boy.
A Leafs
Wow.
fan is the first comment. This is ridiculous. I'm going to burn my Isles season tickets.
A story to keep an eye on.
The
Listen,
Islanders the Islanders are having cap problems.
Listen, I'm not saying we know why they're in cap problems. Let's not pretend
Yeah.
we don't know here. Like maybe paying Casey Zizekas 3.3, Leo Komarov 3, and Kyle Clutterbuck 3.5 might be an issue.
Yeah, it is. This is true. We do have a few more things to talk about. Tampa and Ottawa made a trade, which I hate
Of
Tampa
course they
Bay
did.
so much. There is Jack Roslovic has demanded a trade. Like, who do you think you are? The Blackhawks are doing stuff, but we'll break that up a little later, and we'll talk about the World Juniors to have some ebb and flow here. Stay tuned for the rest of that stuff in a moment, though. Quarterfinal results. Let's go. World Juniors. Who doesn't love a good tournament, guys?
Been great.
Germany. Their run has come to an end against the Russians. It was a close game.
It was. I was surprised by that. Russia
Paterka
was like,
sorry, go ahead.
Russia was Russia. You know what I mean? But Germany did what they could.
It was a Cinderella run. It really,
It was.
really was. I love Germany. I'm on their team. And Tim Stützle. I hate that the Sens have him. He's going to be tearing up the Atlantic whenever we go back to that for years to come.
Yeah, it was a really good run, and I think it would have been different if they didn't have 8 guys missing.
Man, they could have beat the Russians. They could have done it. They were hanging in there. They were.
I think we walked into the tournament, saw Canada beat them 16-0. I think we might have forgotten. No, I don't mean the three of us. I just mean people in general. That how much of a steep decline from playing from your full squad to missing. How many players did they miss in the first game?
They only had 14
Again,
skaters, right?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
so-
and Bob said like 9 complete members had been tested positive.
Like Tim Stützle played like 25 minutes, I believe.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing Canada, who literally pretty much has a full team of first round picks, they have a full roster, and you have 14 guys, and it's not like all the guys. They're good hockey players, but they're not at the level of the first round picks that Canada has. So it's already harder there. Now you're missing you have 14 guys. You have to overload those guys. It would have been of course it's a complete disaster.
The way they've been able to rally in this short tournament and make these games competitive has been really astounding to me. I remember Rachel Dory tweeted out, and I actually forgot. I mentioned before Lucas Reichel missing from this, but I did not include Maurice Scheider, who I did not know was still eligible to play for this tournament. That is a huge loss on their back end, and all hats off to Germany. They've been great, but the only thing I kind of see with this too is, as dominant as Russia's been in some of their games, these have been pretty close games that, their loss against the Czech Republic and then winning 2-1 against Germany. Those have been really interesting. I don't want to, curse or jinx anything going into their game against Canada on Monday, but this is just something that I kind of see like, is this a Russia team that, they, for as much as they're good, is it the kind of the same narrative? Like there's the little things here and there that's gonna like hold them back going forward.
When they look good, but are they? I think consistency is the question.
Because I remember, I agree with you, Alex. Like I remember Ray Ferraro talked about it where, the Czech Republic, when they beat them 2-0, they basically played New Jersey Devils early 2000s style. They clogged up the neutral zone. They played a semi-trap system. They knew they didn't have the talent to kind of go against the top six, but they still kept using that, and Russia never kind of adjusted to that style of play. They still used the skills. They still brought their top guys to just try to bring it into the offensive zone.
See, that was Finland's problem. They didn't game plan for Canada, and they got embarrassed. And it's funny, the consistency issue has also sort of been a Skarov story in this tournament. And I think I joked last episode that there's one day going to be a compilation of that guy letting up some pretty saucy goals after probably some giveaways. He's got some fish in him. He's got some McElhaney fish in him, the way he plays the game. Yeah. And it's going to be a big problem. Because somehow, like, Levi for Canada hasn't really been tested. I guess yesterday, the Czechs put up a good fight, right, against the Canadiens, and Levi he had to make some saves. He had to make some saves, obviously. He's had to make some. When he has been tested, it hasn't been that much, but he's come up big. And it's weird to think that we've heard so much about Askarov all year. Going into the 2020 draft. And the fact that right now he had a weak tournament last year, it's looking about the same this year. And if there was one thing going into this tournament when we talked about goaltending, it was the opposite way around. We weren't sure about Canada. And if we knew anything about the Russians, it was Askarov. Mm-hmm. It's a question. We talked about the Swedes. We talked about the Finns who beat Sweden yesterday. Mm-hmm. I lost confidence in the Finns after that Canadian game, but I think they learned from it. And the problem with Sweden is they did not learn from their mistakes this tournament. They're 54 or 50. I think it was at 54 it got snapped. They're preliminary.
Preliminary.
It's okay.
They're 54 God dang it. You know what I'm trying to say. You guys,
preliminary.
54
preliminary.
You know what?
You say that prelims.
The prelims.
Yeah, their prelims 54 game winning streak came to an end versus the Russians in an amazing game, by the way, in the dying seconds of OT. They should have pulled their goalie in the first after that second week goal. They did it. And then what happens versus the Finns? The Swedes blow a 2-0 lead. Actually, their tournament ends with them losing 3 straight games because the Americans also beat them. And a lot of people sort of thought that maybe them losing the streak was going to take the pressure off. But no, they fell apart.
Why would that be the case? That's such an odd thing to say. Imagine winning 54 games in a row and losing one and saying, well, they're going to come back. Sure, because they're 20 years old.
It's more the thing of it's kind of connected to the whole thing of in that run, how they've only won gold medal, that maybe if you could take, because we all know Sweden are always good enough to get through the prelims, but maybe if you could take the pressure off of there and, maybe it would allow them, I know it sounds kind of silly, but maybe that would sort of relieve that pressure.
Yeah.
And it would sort of give them a I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like it's
something to not think about as they get to the next games. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Because you shouldn't focus on the prelims if you're a team like Sweden. They don't mean anything to you. The same with the Russians and the Canadians. Like, honestly, if you watch this year, you should honestly be thinking, I'm never watching a Canadian prelim game again. No. Unless it's like New Year's versus the States, because they don't mean anything. I don't want to watch a 16-10-1 game when Canada's going to make it.
Right.
And if you're just focusing on, a decade, 15 years, back when Jack Johnson was a junior was the last time. Remember that? that you can actually focus on where it matters. It's kind of like Tampa Bay. Who gives a crap if they win 62 games in the regular season? The playoffs are where it matters.
That's really been
Yeah.
shown the last 2 years.
Yeah. Story of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
And they did lose some players from COVID as well, and their coaching staff. But
Yeah, I'm interested. Like you brought up the goalie. That guy, he's supposed to be a very good goalie. Like this year, he's in the SHL. He's 6-3-0. Obviously, his tournament has not been maybe the greatest, but it's also his first year there. Like we talked about it last year with Spencer Knight and or we talked about it with Askarov, not Spencer Knight. Talked about Yaroslav Askarov, who didn't have a great tournament, but I think maybe this year it's a little bit of a different story.
I think it's Hugo Anfeld.
No, he's the Tampa guy, right? Who played yesterday? Hugo
Was it
Anfeld
Wallstedt?
or Jesper Wallstedt?
I believe it was Jesper Wallstedt.
I thought it was Anfeld.
That's good.
It was the same guy. Like, hey, listen.
I'll find out.
point
I'll find
is-
out. It's okay. Yeah,
Is regardless, Sweden's goaltending
it was not good.
cost them,
It failed
as
them.
well as the fact that they relied on Raymond and Holtz, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
That was the big. Now, listen, that Scandinavian battle was really just a showcase of Detroit prospects. Like their fans were watching, saying, "Yeah, I like this."
Yeah.
But regardless, like their goal, like the last goal Finland scored in the dying seconds of that game, should not have gone. And that's when you have your skate against the post and you lock it up. That's a goal that should never go in. And like I say, again, like the American game, Trevor Zegras has arguably been the best player of this tournament, or Cousins. God dang it. By the way, shout out to the Buffalo Sabres guys, because like JJ Paterka and Cousins are so good. But like, you know what I mean is like Zegras is bad. And when you let him and that American team get on the board early and you let in that type of goal, how does your team come back from that? You can't effectively play the game if you can't trust your goalie to make the save. San Jose is a perfect example of that.
It was Hugo Alnefeld, by the way, who was in that. Hugo,
Okay.
all
right, you were right. My apologies for that. But yeah, for me, my take on Sweden has been this is a team that they had that high-end talent coming back. They had all these guys, and if I'm going to use another World Junior comparable that managed to get through the tournament without trusting their goalie, I'm going to look back on 2009 and Dustin Tokarski, where he had a horrible save percentage. He did not look too good in that tournament, but Canada just outscored everybody. Like there are a lot of 6-4, 8-6 games, and you need that to happen if you don't trust your goalie in these tournaments, especially if you don't have a high-end prospect in the net. And Sweden had the opportunity to do that. They had the stability on defense to do that. Like I looked at Tobias Bjornfot, I looked at Philip Broberg, and they just did not deliver.
No. By the way, from Aaron Portsline, Columbus coach John Torella says Pierre-Luc Dubois' desire for a trade will be handled similarly in one respect to how Bobrovsky and Panarin played out 2 seasons ago. They're confronted as a group and deal with it out in the open, he said. So Torella actually
the first time.
Yeah, actually acknowledged
First time addressed it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the first time they did that, it went so well.
Yeah, it looks like Tortorella is talking at the same time as Mark Bergevin, actually. So that's interesting. Who else do we have to talk about here? Canada beats the Czech Republic. The Czechs put up a much better fight than their game in the prelims, round robin. I'll just say now, preliminaries. That was it.
There we go.
Hey,
There we go.
got it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there is really to say. I will say this. Jan Mysak, Habs prospect.
I knew you were going to mention this guy. Yeah.
Good tournament. He played really well.
Yeah, I did.
My captain, a Czech captain, the second coming of Tomas Plekanec.
Top player of the tournament for the Czechs. Well, one of the top.
Yeah, as he should have been, because he was amazing.
I was surprised with that game. The one thing I was surprised where I know they weren't getting the same quality chances, but they were getting shots on Devin Levi. Like they were out shooting Canada quite a few times.
Well, don't forget, shot counts is the Czechs just block everything. Tortorella's like, I love this. This is my hockey. He's going to show tape of that game against the Russians for years to come.
Breaking news: John Torella will coach the Czech Republic Olympic team.
God, how do you say? That's what I'm saying, Brooksy in Czech.
I remember.
Czech?
Do you guys remember Ted Nolan?
No.
The coach. His son is Jordan Nolan, who played for the LA Kings.
Mm-hmm.
So he was.
Any relation to Owen Nolan?
No, not unfortunately. Ted Nolan, he was the coach of the Buffalo Sabres, and this guy is Canadian, right? He coached the Latvian Olympic team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They beat Canada in a game, didn't they?
They almost that was the Olympic game where was it? Christoph was that
Porzingis.
No, Porzingis. Gunslavtis? I can't remember his name, but he was the guy that put up like 60 saves against Canada, but they still lost.
Oh, the Olympics. We love you. Okay, last game we'll talk about. Not technically, because we'll preview Canada. I mean, the U.S. game. Like, look, we don't need to talk about Canada. We will if they make it to the gold medal game. We're probably going to make it to the gold medal game.
You have to
Dylan Cousins,
they
he's
have to
great.
neutralize some of Alex's favorite players to get through to it.
Okay.
Ilya
Anyway,
Namirov.
the Slovaks in a bit of a chippy game versus the Americans, though they get through. And the game-winning goal in that game,
No.
you know who it came from?
Um,
It came from the birthday boy, bar down boy, Cole Caulfield. Oh,
I hear he's a good player.
oh, he's
No.
so. Oh my God, that
Really?
shot. Oh, that shot was.
Wait, what time did he score at?
I don't even remember. It was. I can't. That game started at 10:30. I was. No, I was.
I
like,
was
what are you
in
doing?
and out of it already. It was too late for me.
Because he was born on January 2nd, so if it was after midnight, technically it
You
wasn't
know
his
what?
birthday.
I think
Wait, are
it
we using
was,
Mountain
too.
Time or Eastern Time?
Whatever, admin things.
Stop.
Whatever.
Stop it.
Because they're
Toronto
what
time.
was it?
Toronto time, okay.
Toronto and
time.
Montreal time.
Okay.
That's it.
Cole
That's all that
Caulfield.
matters.
He hit the post a couple of times. Like, he was rocking. You don't worry about a goal scorer if they get their chances. When they're not, that's when you worry. But boy, he was on fire.
It's gonna be great. Like
Oh,
we already knew that he was gonna be our projections as one of the top guys in the tournament, and he's kind of really shown it. He's really helping. It's a scary U.S. team.
he's on the second line.
Except that goaltending. I don't know about that goaltending.
Yeah, that goaltending's kind of spotty. Dustin
Oh,
Wolf,
yeah.
should get a chance.
Let's not.
That's so funny.
That's not.
Didn't he play 2 games? Dustin Wolf.
Dustin
I have
Wolf,
it here.
believe-
I have
I
it here.
only
He
played
played 2
one.
games.
Hold on.
Oh.
We'll check.
It says elite prospects have him playing 2 games.
Okay.
So I think I might believe them.
Well, usually when you have a consensus guy that supposed to be your guy, he's supposed to play every
Wait,
game.
hold on. Does it count the game he came in as relief as a game played or
That's
not?
probably what it
Yeah.
was, because
Okay.
it only has a record of like 1-0 or something like that.
Let me just double check on what Spencer Knight's been playing. You're just
I mean,
so against
4
Spencer.
games.
I mean, Devin Levi,
Okay, there you
they
go.
only let Dylan Garrell play when it was already kind of a sure thing against Germany.
Let's talk about how Spencer Knight doesn't have an assist as a goalie.
I know.
I didn't realize this is his 3rd straight tournament. He's
Damn.
just been there forever. He really is their guy.
Well, it must be his birthday, right? April 19th, 2001, I guess. But yeah, that's odd. Well, he didn't play his first year, right? So
He
Who was the
controlled-
last American goalie to play 3 tournaments?
Quick?
No.
Ryan Miller, I don't know.
Schneider?
Sorry, this is
Yeah.
probably a precursor to our eventual quiz show, but it was Jack Campbell.
Ah,
Really?
Yeah, he played 3 straight tournaments.
Oh, man.
I
You
didn't
know that Devin Levi is on track that if he plays every game in the tournament, he wins the gold medal. He's the first goaltender to do so since Carey Price.
Wow.
And he is also a part of the list of goalies. This is all from Sportsnet stats, by the way, that have had multiple shutouts in the tournament. And it was such a funny list because it was like Carey Price, Justin Pogge. And you're like, this is when you remember
all
the World
superstars there.
Yeah, and that's when you remember it's the World Juniors, as Drake's Dory has done a very good job reminding people, is not the be-all end-all of showing the potential of a player for an NHL career. But it is funny that if someone has a bad tournament, we will rightfully defend them, that they are great. Because you did say, has
Nathan McKinnon
been playing? Yeah, Caulfield's been playing great. But the thing is, when you are a goal scorer, and Ray and Gord were saying, our close personal friend, not really. They were saying if you're a goal scorer and you're not scoring, you're miserable. You can do all the right things, and Caulfield's his skating, his back checking, even though because of how small he is, when he throws a hit, I don't know if the other team feels it. I love you, Cole. I do. I love him so much.
We love the effort.
It's there. He has a more complete game, but if he's not scoring, right? And then it's Byfield, until he had that 6-point game, everyone was like, he's bad. It's what are you talking about? And then it's he has the wicked game, has the most points in the game since Lemieux and Gretzky, and everyone's like, that'll never happen.
I'd like to point out, because the big thing is the Stützle Byfield comparison, and I'm just gonna say it now: different type of player, and Byfield is playing with a bunch of guys that could also score. Tim Stützle is carrying that team.
Also, Byfield, youngest guy on the team.
Yeah.
And he's that good. Come on.
Because his power forward style, I'm not saying that, it's a traditional third, fourth line, but his power forward style just bodes well, for a checking line.
Yeah. It's like when Tavares was the checking role in one of the series against Boston. And I think he only had 3 points. And everyone was like, he's no, people got to realize that there are roles that you have to play in hockey. It's not simply I score more goal than you.
Well,
I win hockey game. No, it's
Patrice Bergeron has only hit 70 points twice in his career.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Not good enough. Trade him. Get him out of the NHL.
Yeah, I'll take him. You can have Paul Byron.
Silly people.
Yeah. Free agent after next year is Patrice Bergeron.
Oh, he'll resign.
He's coming home.
I hope not. Yeah, come to Montreal. Why not? Play the fourth line. Take him.
Without the nose and be he's playing the same role as me. That's in the NHL games. You sign someone, it's this person lost morale because he's the same role as him.
I'm not playing as well as this guy. This isn't fair. I'm not scoring any points. I don't want to be here anymore because these guys are come on, Phil.
I'd like to have a meeting with about my minutes.
Yeah. There's all this positive energy around this team right now. Let me just ruin it. Thanks, Phil. I hope you stay though. You know who I was watching it was a TSN thing on the best World Junior goals ever. You know who was in a lot of those?
Sidney
Phil
Crosby?
Kessel.
Oh.
No, Kessel was. I didn't realize that guy was a World Junior monster.
He's a good player. I don't understand what this idea is. I think when he came to Toronto, and it was for those picks. It absolutely ruined him.
Yeah, because you didn't hear any of that when he was on the Bruins. I remember hearing that he's just a prospect they're developing. I remember when he went to Toronto, I was shocked. What?
He's a good player, man. I don't know why. Okay, maybe now things have kind of declined because maybe he's out of his prime, but he's.
I just blame it that it's Arizona.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's on Arizona. They don't have real ice.
In Toronto, even the last few years in Toronto when it was oh God, just please trade Phil. Everyone was blaming him. He was still a good player. It's unfortunate.
Anyway, so predictions: Finland versus the Americans. Who do you guys have?
The Americans.
U.S. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. Same here.
Unless, no, I'm just joking.
It's going to be 6-2 U.S.
I don't know about that.
No. I think it's going to be
Finland.
a tough game. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. but I do think the U.S. comes out on top.
I would not be surprised if the Finns won, but you guys know I am rooting for. First of all, listen, the World Juniors don't need Canada. I'm throwing it out there. Okay, I'm throwing this hot take out there. We don't
Sounds
need
like a
them.
tweet.
We don't. Yeah, I wonder what. Okay, which one of you tweeted from the show? I need to know.
About what?
I think it was Alex.
About what?
About when I tweeted, do we need Canada the World Juniors?
No, that wasn't me.
So Daniel, not only did you
That was
tweet
the
me from
podcast,
show,
not
no,
any of us.
No, you're not. Yeah, no,
It has its own
I didn't
power.
even know that was a thing.
Not only
This is how
did
out
you-
of here I am.
So Daniel, not only did you go to the show and tweet at it, you then went to your personal account and tweeted at me as well.
Wait, where is it? Did you take it down?
I might have gotten rid of it because I was like, what is this?
Let me search it.
I don't even know. I don't know at what point when this was
Anyway.
tweeted. Was it?
Finland have a chance. Finland are a good team. It's just I need to address this.
Yeah, you
Like,
deleted
honestly,
you deleted the tweet.
Yeah, because it didn't go anywhere. I was like, okay, guess this isn't not causing. I was hoping some people would get involved, like Mike, but they didn't. So I'm like,
I tried. That's why the podcast got involved.
Stop it. Stop it. But anyway, like what I'm saying is like for the good of the thing, this sucks, but there is the Canadian part, even though I'm British. I do want to kind of see the Americans in I mean, like a U.S. Canada matchup, and Caulfield gets the game-winning goal in OT, and that's how we hope it
Oh
goes.
my god! I don't see Alex saying that about Mikhail Abramov
Well, you know,
or Miro Hyvernin.
well,
Miro
Roni
Rodion Mamirov,
Roni
Canada,
Hirvonen.
Russia. Canada, Russia. Who wins?
Yeah. If I'm being honest, I think that's really gonna if Russia comes into that game playing the way we've seen them play before, I think that could be a really tough game, and I think it could be a really, really good game. I guess I should go with Canada since I'm wearing a Canada jersey, so I will go with Canada.
I didn't know you had a Sidney Crosby World Cup. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I forgot I had it. I don't remember. My dad got it. I don't remember from where though.
That's cool.
Okay.
I'm going for Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the Russians stand a chance, to be honest with you.
Really?
I know Alex is torn by this, but
No, I think like here's the thing: is it depends on which Russia shows up. That's what the issue is.
Mhm.
And that's what the issue is.
That's the worst thing, though. You're going against Canada, and we don't know what you're going to show up with.
Hey man,
you know what's odd
I'm
to me? That for the Canadian team, like I know there's always the one-offs, but it's actually really rare you see a Leaf or a Hab at the World Juniors for Canada. Like Caden Goalie is there, but then when you look back on the Leafs, like the last one was what, Ian Scott, and then before that was like Mitch Marner and Travis Dermott.
Yeah.
Well, Montreal haven't been drafting a lot of Canadians, to be honest with you. It's a lot of Europeans. Everyone's always like, they like French Canadians. They don't draft them a lot anymore.
Is Montreal upset about that? Because
There are always those pocket of fans that are the
This city
sort
is.
of.
I remember reading
Yeah.
that a feature, I think it was for Sports Illustrated, about Montreal's distaste for Chris Chelios being named captain
It's
because he's American.
Like, I understand there are.
Oh, Greek American.
I understand having, having an important member of staff who speaks French. Because first of all, what we kind of have to remember is we have two languages in this country, and people kind of forget about French and that Quebec speaks French. So like, if you're running the French team, Ottawa's whatever. Like you need to have that, but like you don't need to have your GM be French. You don't have to have the coach be French.
yeah,
Like, as long as they make the commitment, like that is like, I would expect them to at least be like, I'm gonna play here. I'm gonna make an effort to speak French.
Does
But
Shea
they
Weber
should
speak French?
I don't think he does.
No?
No, not at all.
it was the thing I was saying back in the bubble, because there was a small group of fans complaining about Kirk Muller, and I fully understand that. Like it makes sense to me, but it's like in a very particular situation where Claude Julien like something terrible something bad has happened,
Like
and
a
your first
heart attack.
reaction, like your first reaction is to complain that he doesn't speak French. And I understand it's a small part of the fan base. It's just didn't make sense.
Yeah. You mentioned Goalie, by the way. Apparently, Bergevin said it's possible that Goalie and Mishak come over to Montreal at some point, depending on what happens in the OHL and WHL. Because those of you who don't know, Mishak actually plays for the Hamilton Bulldogs. Okay, so we are good there. We'll save Chicago, I guess. Feels like we've been going forever.
We've been going
Jack,
for less than an hour, or
Really?
just over an hour now.
Okay.
Never mind.
It just time goes by when you're having fun.
Yeah. So Jack Roslovic has asked for a trade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like he's a
mean,
good
you are.
player. It's just like he just hasn't.
I don't think that's
proven
fair,
it.
though. I don't think
I
that's
know.
fair, though, because I think if it was the player who came out first and said that, I think it's a completely different story. And it's the same with the NHL and the PA. Whoever leaks it first is the one who wins the battle. It happens every time. But yeah.
It's weird to me because like I think he is an excellent player. He's someone that has a lot of potential, but it's just it's weird. He's there, and then the Jets for like a year and a half, like we need center depth,
And he's right there.
Yeah,
I'm
they put
very
Andrew
curious.
Cobb on the first line in the playoffs.
I'm very curious at what the contract negotiations are like, because they could completely be like just screwing him in negotiations, but they're the first ones who put the trade request out first, so they win.
I'm not gonna lie, and this is coming from a Jonathan Drouin fan.
Yeah.
And I've said the same thing about Joe. I kind of hate it when a young player is like, I want out. It's like, no offense, but buddy, you haven't scored 30 points before. And you're requesting a trade. Like, dude, Patrick Laine is on the way out. And he's fighting to get real minutes. Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
Alvarez.
like
Well,
Arizona.
you mentioned, like Turris doing it. It's like, man, like if Laine is probably going to be gone, even if you don't end up playing center. And I will admit, I am not 100% that knowledgeable on how he has been playing, but there is an opportunity for somebody in that top six when Laine goes. And even when Stastny's gone, because he's not going to be around there for more than a season, or effectively, if you're Roslovic, then instead what I would do is you see the opportunity is coming, or at least your agent or someone close to you, if you're looking at the situation around you, is you see where there is a chance for you to shine here, if in your limited minutes, you need to shine and earn the opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just simply, we need centers, I am a center, therefore you will give me the chance to play center. It's like what the Sens have just been talking about they're doing. The young guys are going to have to earn a spot because you need to learn that compete. You cannot be complacent if you are young, because guess what? Those guys who are drafted high and don't adapt because they can't, like, it's a much different game now. Like, if you're not going to be having the puck as much. Like, you're nothing in this league, unfortunately. You have to earn it.
And Mike has mentioned Logan Brown as an example in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And it's sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No,
I'm done.
I was just gonna say, like, I think there's different situations, and I think this one is one where, like, he should be in the NHL. Like, I don't necessarily think that's up for discussion.
Oh yeah,
but you have the opportunity there. I think there's different guys who should have been in the NHL who didn't and requested a trade. Like, I want to get to this maybe after this, but like Josh Hosang, like I do think he's an like he should be in the NHL. I don't see why not. And guys who've been skating with him in the summer have said, yeah, like I don't see why he's not in the NHL. And I really think like the New York Islanders are really screwing him. Like, you tendered his qualifying offer, whatever. Maybe we'll talk about it after. But
no, go do it now if you want.
It's fine.
It's just fine. Chicago and Tampa.
He is a guy. It's been 7 years since he's been drafted. So,
I'm going to forget what I was going to say about Jack Roslovic. But with Roslovic, like both of you said, he has the opportunity. Like, yes, they brought in Paul Stastny, but Paul Stastny's not going to be there for more than a year. What are the chances he resigns? And if he resigns, how good is he going to be that next year? Someone eventually has to step up. And okay, they have Cole Perfetti. Is Cole Perfetti going to be in the NHL this year? Probably not. Like, you have the opportunity there. If you want to sign and do 1 year, prove yourself. If at that point you prove yourself and they're still not offering you a contract that you think is reasonable, then go ahead and request a trade. But at this point, I don't necessarily think there's enough there that they're going to trade him. They could just let him sit.
Yeah. He's a young guy. He's someone that we don't know how the locker room is, but, you know, it's like, you know, there's Blake Wheeler and then the assistants, you know, these are guys that, you know, they've made their bones already in the NHL. And like Adam says, like, it's just a weird thing to see when a young guy demands a trade like this, because like, it just, you know, when it comes to like that factor that he may sit, you know, that's just something that's so detrimental to his career in a way that he's not getting in any games. And that, you know, the way he's perceived by other teams, it's just gonna get worse. Like, again, good player, but, you know, he wasn't a top 10. He wasn't a lottery pick. He was 21st overall.
Especially when you're NHL ready. If you're an AHL guy and you're kind of holding out and you say, okay, maybe I need a change of scenery, and you go back to Europe, I don't know if that's necessarily as detrimental, because I think there's leagues in Europe who are close to comparable to the AHL. But when you're a NHL guy and you're holding out and your option is Europe or the NHL, and you go to Europe, that could really be detrimental. You miss a full year of NHL games.
By the way, Mr. Roslovic, everyone's looking for somewhere to play right now. Everyone.
Right.
We don't have an ECHL. Guys in Europe, like, again, we don't know where Goalie and Mishak are going.
Yeah.
Again, the only Canadian junior league playing was the Q, and they had to stop. Like,
have they confirmed what the rest of them are doing? Because I know that was up for discussion.
I can't remember if it was the AHL, somebody about the February 4th, because I'm pretty sure the OHL were saying they were going in February, but I don't know if anything's sort of set. Would you guys like to talk about...
They delayed it, by the way, because of the lockdown. The OHL did. I don't know about the W.
By the way, shall we talk about... We got two more things. Tampa and Chicago. What would we rather hit first?
Chicago.
Right. Chicago. I mean, Roslovic's not playing games, and neither will some pretty important players for the Blackhawks. Kirby Dach, Captain Canada, is out 4 to 5 months after successful wrist surgery after a very innocent-looking collision in Canada's, I think it was only their pre-tournament.
It's the pre-tournament against Russia, yeah.
He thought his stick had broke. It was his wrist, which is, along with Alex Nylander, who was, poor guy, has not been able to stay healthy a lot.
No.
He'll be out 4 to 6 months after knee surgery. And here's the big one. Captain Jonathan Toews out indefinitely with an undisclosed injury. There's not a lot of details about it. And what's a red flag here is Jonathan Toews is that kind of guy who's very, very serious about his health. And remember, there was all those reports about during the bubble, he was asking questions. He wanted to know everything that was going on. Captain serious. Chicago want to be bad, but what you don't want is 2 young players and your captain to be out.
No.
A disastrous season for the Blackhawks before it's even started. We all wanted 2020 to start on the right foot, but before it even went forward, Chicago are looking bad for 2021, guys. Alex, you let me know we wanted to start with them, so I'll throw it to you first.
I mean, the Kirby Dach and Alex Nylander one, those ones are huge, because I think those 2 guys especially were the ones who are supposed to take those next steps. Mm-hmm. Are they going to be elite superstars? Probably not, but they're going to take those next steps in the NHL. Obviously, Dach played I think he played the full season in the NHL last year. Nylander as well. so that's unfortunate, and hopefully they come back better than before, which they probably will. With Hayes, though, you're right. Like, it's a huge loss to the locker room, and I mean, I guess we don't really know if he's going to be there or if he's not going to be there. Because if he's not going to be there, I really think that's going to be a big loss, bigger than I think most people expect. Like, I know, similar to Boston, they have a leadership group that is bigger than just their captain.
Mm-hmm.
But when you lose your captain, it's still a big deal, right? Like, same with St. Louis, right? Losing Pietrangelo, yeah, you still have leaders, but it's not the same. But I didn't see a lot of it, but I saw some of it. I think it's really stupid for them to trash on Jonathan Toews. And I know I talked about it with Mike, but I don't get it. Like, what's your point? He has no reason to have to tell you what specifically it is. It's the same thing with the Tuukka Rask thing. He had no reason. He had no right to have to tell you anything. He could have just left. He could have he probably told the team somewhat of what was up. It was obviously, it's up to him if he was going to say everything, but he has no right to the public to tell us specifics.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason.
No, not at all. Daniel.
I think it's two things that we expected the Blackhawks to be bad no matter what we kind of heard from the players, but I remember when we looked at the projected rosters and we did the deep dive of the Blackhawks, and even at full strength, how much depth they were already lacking. And now you take out these core guys that, in your captain and Jonathan Toews, in two guys that, these two young guys you have been doing your best to develop along the way despite the circumstances. And now that you see that, there's another guy who's gone, Brandon Saad, who's been traded, and you have this whole mix-up of defense there that it's just, and their goalies, it's just you don't know what they are. So for me, I think this is going to be a huge transition year for them. One thing I think about is how is it going to affect Patrick Kane? How is it going to affect that, this guy who's arguably one of the best players right now for us, who's still playing at an extremely high level? Is he going to look at an environment like this and think, I could realistically see myself stay here my whole career if I want to win again? And Chicago is just going to be a team that we're going to keep looking at, because I think that there's going to be certain guys that they're going to expect to step up. There's going to be guys that, they're going to look at this and I guess finally get that answer that, we could say they want to be bad, but, maybe it just kind of hits them now that, we are fully committed to a vision of what we want in the future now, because I think they have held on for too long.
Yeah. One thing I just want to add before we go to Tampa here. Don't give Bowman a hard time for sending Doc to the World Juniors. You would go there. I would go there. Yeah. It's the same thing as the Olympics. Stop it. It's once in a lifetime type of thing. Unless you're Spencer Knight and you get to go 3 times. But like your country, a hockey tradition, shut up. Shut up, people. Yeah. That could have happened at training camp, any game. Stop it. Absolutely stop it. It wasn't like either he was being headhunted. It was a freak accident. Stop it. Though, another thing I'd like some people to do, I'd like them to stop. Stop helping Tampa. The Senators, thanks to the Senators, the Tampa Bay Lightning, even they're like $17 million over the cap, are technically cap compliant. Thanks to Kucherov being now on LTIR. And, got it written out here, the Senators, with the trade in Tampa, acquire Braden Coburn, Cedric Paquette in the second rounder, so they get their second back from the Brassard deal. From Tampa. Oh, sorry, the second's in 2022, by the way. So not even this year, but next year. Great. In 2022, from Tampa Bay, in exchange for Marian Gaborik and Anders Nielsen, which, by the way, are dead contracts, and it's been confirmed they will not play this year. So they will also be put on LTIR.
And that loophole.
Whatever. I can't stand them. They got away with it again. They did it. Congratulations.
They're still $3 million over the cap space for next season, and we know it's not going to change.
Well, they'll fix it. I'm not
What's
concerned.
crazy is Ottawa's helping them a second time. Remember when they took Ryan Callahan's contract?
Didn't
they
boy,
take-
do I.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of yelling.
Yeah.
You know what? This time at least they got a second, which wasn't enough. But
Yep.
the Ryan Callahan deal was awful because it was Ryan Callahan and a fifth for Mike Condon and a sixth.
Yeah.
Everyone thought Mike Condon was gonna be
Oh
that
boy,
guy.
do I.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Carey Price lost the whole season to injury and Condon was in his place. Yeah. They finished fourth last that year. Boy, do I.
But again, they figured it out. I mean, I guess good for Tampa for figuring it out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Great.
I don't know how to respond to that. But all you did was a second. The thing with certain teams is they know that the market is god awful at the moment, the trade market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jim Benning spends a prospect for Kasperi Kapanen and Jesper Lindgren. Then their whole heap of trades come in: Ryan Murray, Marcus Nudivara. I'm definitely missing guys. Nate Schmidt, and then they what? You're only getting a set. I feel like Ottawa might have reset the trade market because they traded a second for Derek Stepan, which
Yeah, sorry. I
was
said Derek Brassard earlier. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Yeah.
which was an overpayment.
Yeah.
And then you only get back a second round pick in a market that the flat cap, they're millions of dollars over the cap. You're already at the cap floor. You're well above the cap floor. You don't really need Colbert and Paquette as much as I think they do. I don't really think they needed those two guys, but whatever. And you only get a second round pick.
Yeah, for me, okay, I'm not saying I would do this as a GM, but Ottawa could have asked for a first or a prospect in exchange for this, that they could have held Tampa's hand and say, we are gonna force you into doing this deal, add a better sweetener, because I don't know why it's these seconds that they have been dealt with, or even we look back at the Callahan deal, there was absolutely no value there for Ottawa.
Who, by the way, who just announced his retirement?
Yes.
What were the Leafs at last year? Was it $95 million cap hit? Around there?
Yes.
Tampa's at 97. Their cap hit is $97 million. Well, 97, 316.666, but you know what I mean?
That's
Because
so
I look at
funny.
it they get a second, and the Leafs had to give away Seth Jarvis
Oh, don't Eve. Don't
to
do
get
that.
rid of Patrick Marleau.
Yeah,
Sorry, you had to add a face to it. He's been drafted. The pick has been
okay.
used.
Yeah, it's an odd one for me. I think they could have got more.
yeah, well, the Ottawa Senators, what a weird team. What a really, really, really weird team. Okay, that's everything then.
Oh, Josh Hosang.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the Josh Hosang isn't going to training camp. They didn't invite him to training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm missing something here, I really think the Islanders are screwing Josh Hosang. We all know, there's been the rumors that there's been attitude issues or whatever their issues may be. I don't know. But you tendered his qualifying offer. His value is next to none. Unfortunately, his value is next to none. They put him on waivers. No one took him last season. And it's not like much has really changed. And then you don't bring him to training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be better to let him say, you know what? He's pretty much a valueless to us because no one really wants to take him, and let him go do his own thing. Instead, you tender his qualifying offer. and then don't invite him to training camp.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make any sense?
Talk about putting a player in a position to succeed. It felt like the opposite. I mean, at some point, I just question: is it really him? I mean, was it that big of a deal? He wanted to wear Lemieux's number.
No, it's
It's not
fans being
retired.
babies.
It's just, and there's just a certain level of. I just have a bit of disdain for the Islanders. Just a lot of them, like, I know there was no value for him, but at this point, get anything. Get a conditional pick if you get future considerations if you can. I mean, there's just that human side of like, do something for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense.
Talent is there, and again, we say it again, and I don't know, maybe we don't know how it is. Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello are old time guys, but when I look at this team and I see the players that go before him, it's just weird to me because the Islanders, they have Matt Barzal, but when I look at the other guys, it's not like these are guys that I'm like, you have to have all the time. Like, I'm looking at that fourth line. I'm looking at even in their top 9 where there's certain guys there that they play well. Some of them are a bit overpaid, but it's like not the same skill. And we've seen Josh Hosang play before. He could play in the NHL, and I agree with the whole Lemieux number thing. Like, that was just kind of slim pickings, and it's just things where, those unwritten rules of hockey culture where you don't do certain things. You don't, it's a weird thing. It's like, we're not going to wear 99. We're not going to wear 66. We're not going to do these quote unquote things, even though, like, other than the 99 thing, there's no rules to them.
So two things. Number one, I really hope Seattle takes him, whether it's through free agency or through the expansion draft. I genuinely hope Seattle takes him and it bites them in the ass so hard.
Like we did in our Twitch version. Yeah,
and I think he's in the NHL. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Well,
how did we develop him, Alex?
Check out on Wednesday.
Tune in our Twitch channel on Wednesdays, every Wednesdays, to see how we develop Josh Hosang, amongst others.
But the second thing is, I think there's things that happen in hockey that, like, these hockey culture traditions that don't happen in any other sport. So let's remember where we are. We've had this discussion. We are 4 out of 4 in the big leagues, top 4. The dead last by a lot. And we saw what happened with the MLB with their negotiations in the summer. And listen, their popularity might have taken a hit. So let's grow up a little bit. We can keep the helmets on ads. If a guy's number is retired for a team, okay, I understand. Like, I respect that. Is number 66 retired in New York?
No.
So someone can wear that number.
A comparable to is LeBron James still wears number 23. A lot of guys still wear number 23.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're not in Chicago, you could still wear 23.
It's like when, God, who was it? Daniel, you might remember this. He was like a defenseman who, like, barely played in Chicago's run, and he did the Yager salute once.
Oh.
The guys on the other team gave him crap. It's like, who does he think he is doing the Yager salute, playing 5 minutes a game?
I can't remember, but that's funny.
Yeah, it was something. It's just such a hockey thing. Like, just let the guy celebrate. Nowadays, we're all like, oh, look at the goal salute. It's so old, the cross goal, but you do the Yager salute when you're in the playoffs, and it's a bad thing, apparently.
There's a funny story about that one, too. When the Leafs eliminated the Penguins in the early 2000s from the playoffs, Danny Markov, who was playing for the Leafs, did the Yager salute when they eliminated them.
See, it's funny. It's funny.
Good.
Anyway,
they probably got eliminated next round, didn't they?
Yeah, like that was the New Jersey's run to the finals, but they lost to the Avalanche.
Oh, really? And who was the goalie for the car?
The David Abisher is the backup.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's it for today.
That's
We will see everyone next episode. Whatever it is, excuse me. God, these episodes take a while. By the end of it, like these guys will tell you, once we stop recording and we like talk each other afterwards, I get so quiet because I'm so tired. Like, and I was so tired before this episode started, but you got to turn it on for the people.
Exactly.
Okay. That's everything. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, let's say you're on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating and a review, how much you love the show. Tell all your friends, Steve Dangle would say. Thank you to Voicehead, as always, for being a fantastic platform for the show. Wherever you're listening to this, Podbean, Spotify, follow the show for new episodes weekly. Pretty soon, probably going to not bi-weekly, 2 episodes a week when the season gets started, probably, because hockey! Almost here. We love it. I hate it at the same time. Check out Alex's blog. All of Daniel's stuff coming soon. We'll see.
We'll have to get Will Baldwin on the show.
And
No, we really have to. We really have to.
And Twitch on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Exactly. And of course,
Not Mountain
YouTube,
time.
Not Mountain. No.
Or
we
Central
don't care about
time.
Mountain time. Yeah.
Or Pacific time.
No. Or Greater Britain to Mountain Island time. Anyway, or check out my YouTube channel for all your haves and needs. Got 4 subs this week, over 200.
There we go.
Was it 200 views on the Perry video? I remember. It was doing really well. I got 150 last time I checked.
Good.
So that was good. Yeah.
That's
good.
everything. Okay.
Bye.
All right.